She thought it was just another rainy shift. A man walked in soaked, underdressed, and rejected by staff. But when she helped him anyway, she got fired, what she didn't know. He was the undercover CEO of the entire restaurant chain. What happened next shocked the whole internet. It was a cold, rainy Thursday evening in downtown Chicago, the type of night where umbrellas flip in the wind, and every customer who walks through the restaurant doors wants a warm meal and an even, warmer welcome. Inside La Rosa's, a high-end restaurant known more for its linen napkins than kindness, 23-year-old Emily Carter was finishing the tail end of a grueling double shift. Her feet ached, her apron was damp, and the only thing keeping her going was the thought of a quiet bus ride home. She had worked at La Rosa's for over a year not because she loved it, but because it paid just enough to keep her college dream alive. Emily wasn't flashy, didn't gossip with the others, and never complained. She just worked hard. And that night her heart would be tested in a way she never expected. As she was clearing a table near the front, the doors creaked open and in stepped a man who immediately drew judgmental glances. His hair was soaked, his flannel shirt wrinkled, his jeans faded, no reservation, no luxury watch. He didn't belong here, or so the host decided. "We're fully booked tonight," the host lied, barely hiding his smirk. Emily watched from a few feet away. The man looked down as if used to being turned away. Something in her stirred. She stepped forward, gently placing a menu under her arm. "I'll seat you," she said softly. "You deserve a warm meal like anyone else," the host glared. The man looked surprised but grateful. What Emily didn't know was that this simple act of kindness, done without permission and against company policy, was about to change everything in her life, and cost her more than she could imagine. The next morning, Emily arrived at the restaurant wearing the same shoes from the night before, slightly scuffed but neatly polished. She walked in expecting the usual coffee brewing, the soft clatter of silverware, and a checklist of tables to prep. Instead, she was met with silence and the sharp eyes of her manager, Mr. Halbrook, waiting outside his office. "Emily," he said coldly, "in my office, now." Her stomach tightened. Had someone complained? Was it about tips? Her mind raced. As the office door closed behind her, his voice turned harsh. "You went completely against protocol last night," he barked. "You seated someone we explicitly turned away. That man was dressed like a drifter. What were you thinking?" Emily blinked, confused. "He was polite and hungry. I didn't think exactly." "You didn't think," he snapped, cutting her off. "Do you know how that looked? We have standards here." People were watching. "But no one else helped him," she whispered. "I just thought he's a person." Mr. Halbrook's eyes narrowed, and with a tone that stung deeper than any slap, he said, "La Rosa's doesn't need bleeding hearts. We need professionals. You're done here. No warnings. No write-up. Just a printed termination slip." And a cold stare. Emily stood there, stunned. Her hands trembled as she untied her apron. The job that helped her afford textbooks, rent, and groceries gone. All because she had shown kindness to the wrong person in the eyes of a rigid system. Outside, the clouds were clearing, but Emily's world felt darker than ever. She walked out the back door, heartbroken, humiliated, and unemployed, all for doing what she thought was right. What she didn't know was that the man she helped wasn't just anyone, and he hadn't forgotten her. 3 long days passed. Emily barely left her tiny studio apartment. Her uniform still hung by the door, untouched. The echoes of her firing replayed in her head like a cruel loop. Her phone buzzed with texts from coworkers, some sympathetic, most nosy. One message stood out. "Did you hear? The guy you served? He was someone important." She ignored it. Gossip was common in that place. But then came another. He was undercover. For real, CEO or something. Now everyone's freaking out. Emily sat up straight. Meanwhile, at La Rosa's, panic had quietly replaced pomp. Word had gotten out that an anonymous man rumored to be a billionaire in disguise had dined there, testing the staff. Managers whispered behind closed doors. The regional director had flown in, but no one could confirm who he was or why he had chosen that restaurant. or if the story was even real. Emily still hadn't processed any of it when, on the fourth afternoon, there was a knock at her door. She hesitated. Through the peephole, she saw a tall man in a sleek black coat, the same eyes, but now cleaned up, confident, and unmistakably powerful. Behind him stood two assistants and a sleek black SUV. When she cracked the door open, he smiled warmly. "Emily, I owe you a proper thank you." She blinked. "Wait, it's you?" He nodded. "I'm Charles Lennox, CEO of Lennox Hospitality Group. I own La Rosa's and about 100 other restaurants. I was visiting in disguise? Testing values, not just service?" "You were the only one who passed." Emily's heart pounded. She wasn't crazy, she wasn't wrong. She had treated a man with respect, and now the truth was standing on her doorstep. And he had only just begun to repay her. Charles Lennox stepped into Emily's modest apartment like a man who knew exactly what he was doing and who he had come for. As they sat across from each other at her tiny kitchen table, he spoke plainly yet warmly. "I've built a hospitality empire from scratch, but lately it's been missing something. That's why I've been going undercover visiting my restaurants unannounced. No team, no fanfare. Just me and a simple question: do my people still know how to treat people?" He paused, looking her in the eyes. "At La Rosa's—" "You were the only one who passed that test." Emily blinked back tears. She had been fired, embarrassed, cast out like she was nothing. And here was the man behind it all, not angry but grateful. "I'm not just here to thank you," he said, sliding a sealed envelope across the table. Inside, a full scholarship to the Culinary Institute of America, a $10,000 grant for living expenses, and an offer letter assistant manager at his upcoming flagship restaurant in Manhattan. Her hands trembled. "Why are you doing this?" Charles smiled. "Because in an industry obsessed with image, you reminded me what real service looks like: humanity, not hierarchy." The next day, the story exploded online. An anonymous staff member had leaked security footage of Emily helping Charles. News outlets picked it up. Waitress fired for helping undercover CEO. Social media erupted with support. Thousands of strangers shared her story with hashtags like #JusticeForEmily and #HumanityFirst. La Rosa's corporate office scrambled to do damage control. The manager who fired her was suspended. A public apology was issued. But for Emily, it was no longer about revenge, it was about rising. The girl they fired in silence was now being celebrated across the nation. 1 year later, sunlight poured through the tall windows of a cozy new cafe in Brooklyn, New York. The sign above the door read, "The Kind Table," its motto in elegant script beneath it, "Everyone deserves a seat." Inside, the aroma of fresh sourdough and roasted coffee beans filled the air. The tables were mismatched on purpose, the walls decorated with handwritten notes from customers thanking the owner for the best soup in town, and for making them feel seen. That owner? Emily Carter. After completing her culinary training fully funded by Charles Lennox, she had turned down lucrative job offers to chase something bigger, a space where kindness wasn't a risk, but the foundation. She hired people overlooked by others, former inmates, single mothers, veterans with PTSD. She trained them not just to serve food, but to see people. And every day, customers came not just to eat, but to feel something again: humanity, warmth, welcome. Charles often stopped by when he was in town, always sitting in the same corner booth, quietly observing the heartbeat of a restaurant born from one small act of compassion. Emily never forgot that rainy Thursday night. She often told her team, "That moment could have broken me, but it built me instead." What started as a quiet, instinctive gesture serving a man everyone else ignored had rewritten the course of her life. Because in a world obsessed with status, she had chosen heart. And the truth is, anyone can. You don't need wealth, power, or a big stage to make a difference. Sometimes it's the unnoticed, humble decisions, the ones that don't make sense in the moment, that echo the loudest. All it takes is kindness. Kindness costs nothing, but sometimes it's worth everything. If this story touched your heart, don't let it stop here. Hit like to honor the quiet heroes among us. Subscribe for more true, powerful stories that remind us of what really matters: kindness, courage, and humanity, and share this video, because someone out there needs to be reminded. One small act of good can change everything.